Today, I'm going to show you how high Bitcoin's rally might go and give you specific indicators, super simple indicators to look at to tell you if this rally is going to fail and test down lower in a heartbeat or not. And also, I'm going to show you a little bit of what we do in the community, because I know now that almost no altcoins are making all-time highs. There are very, very few of them. I know that most people out there, crypto noobs who are newer to this as of 2021, are having a lot of trouble making any gains within crypto because that's the market. We're going down, right? And so I wanted to show you what we're doing in the Discord community so you can better determine if that is for you. Are you ready? Let's go. These are the daily 21 EMA. This is the weekly 55 EMA, but I'm on the 1 hour chart. So all of these candles are the 1 hour chart. From my weekly setup that I provided on Sunday night or Monday morning, depending on how if you're European, it was Monday early morning, price 6 in the morning, I provided an alert that from here on Sunday, I expected price to go down to 41.2, then flip the green, or flip the week green. And I offered that to all of my tiers on Discord and to my highest tier on YouTube within the join button below. If you wanted to check that out, it'll pop up a video and tell you, hey, these are the tiers and what you get. So just a couple hours ago, before I was making this video, the week was still red, and it was a day later than I anticipated. However, the exact level, almost like I think it was $30 off, almost the exact level that I was looking for before the week flip green was hit. Now, with that setup, here is where I think this is going to go, and specifically the path, how it's going to get there. If I had to make a best guess, does it have to do this? No. This is simply how I might play it, take profits, re-enter, so on and so forth. And this is more information that I would typically provide to higher level tiers, so my crypto crackhead and VIP tiers, but I'm going to show you just a quick glimpse of the things that I explained specific to price action, how to take profits, how to click around this and that. I'm going to give you a sneak peek here. So very specifically, the daily 21 and the weekly 55 are very, very likely going to cause some hesitation with price. If price can get above it and just stay above it, it could keep screaming up, but that's typically not how it goes, because if you see this orange line here, this is native to the 1 hour chart. So all these candles, I'm on the 1 hour chart right now. Typically, if you scream above the 1 hour, it's almost 100% of times, not 100, but it's damn close. It'll come back down to test it. So my setup for now, because I've already started being long from about this point right here, now I'm in profit. I've actually personally taken half profits on all of my longs and moved my stops up. So I'm in a risk-free trade, and if it keeps ripping up, I'll just let my what I have left in my trades rip up with this. However, my setup here is that I think price will come up and bump its head roughly around the 43.8 level. Okay, so I think it's going to give one more push up, and it might make some mountains like this come back down to the 1 hour 200 EMA, which is this orange line here. So I'm essentially extending this EMA, guessing where it will be at that moment, right? Okay, and then, and again, this is the exact price path and how I'm clicking around with my money. I'm showing you what I'm personally doing. And again, since you didn't get the setup that I had, if you're not in the community, then you wouldn't be able to play this. But I want to show you, had you been in the community since Monday, this is why you'd be playing with me, or at least taking, at least knowing what I'm doing, and you can make your own decisions, which is what about half people do. A lot of people just play along directly with me as well on my ideas on where to set stops, where to enter, and all that stuff. So anyway, I think we're going to get one more little bump up here, and it could be later today. It could, test down and come up, something to that effect. So this is what I'm looking for. So from the profits I took here, if Stokes can completely, so let me put on Stokes on the 1 hour chart. If Stokes can come all the way down, or nearly all the way down, so sometimes this is acceptable, especially if it comes straight down and test it. I like that. If it's a fast one and Stokes only come to here, I would take that. I would re-enter. But usually it's a slower right down, and I'm looking for a bump on this daily 21 EMA. All right, I'm looking for a bump up. I'm looking for it to come back down. And so I'm not going to enter right when it hits this. I'm going to wait for Stokes to come up and curl back up and get past what I call, let me zoom in on here. This is the 1 hour Stokes. So you typically have a fake out zone that is just above this white line, about right there. So if it can get over this line, that's when I'm going to re-enter with a little bit momentum. Instead of trying to catch the ultimate lows, I want to see it come over here. So you see how Stokes went down, curled up, and price kept going down because it couldn't get over this line right? So that is specifically what I'm looking for. So with the half of the profits that I've taken from my long positions, I would look to re-enter with that and write up just a little bit more, but I will wait until Stokes bottom out, curl back up, and you have a green candle or two on price. And again, I'm not worried about catching bottoms, because if I try to catch the bottom, I am setting myself up for the very strong possibility, maybe not probability, that it just comes down lower, and that this was a quick bull trap, so that the big whales can take on more shorts as more and more people are longing. So I need to guard against that, which is why I've both taken profits. And before I re-enter with half the profits that I've taken, I want to see momentum to the upside, and therefore I think the second push could get above these two lines and head for higher targets, particularly the weekly 10 EMA would if the rest of this week is green, and if it leads into next week, that would be my ultimate play on this. So this is very, very specific information for folks who are looking for, hey, where are my altcoins going to go? This isn't very helpful. But then again, what I'm saying here is, altcoins aren't making all-time highs anymore, even though I think Phantom is trying, and you have a few out there that are doing it. Rose is one. They're very, very, very few, right? So if you're just holding on to dear life, you're not making gains. You might see you up one day to another, but you're not going to get all-time highs. I think that story is over for several months here, right? So I'm trying to give you, ideas on how I provide detailed information so folks can, carefully and with risk management to greatly, greatly reduce losses when the setup's wrong, how they click around so they can, not get rich tomorrow. So we're not doing any 100x longs or anything stupid like that. It's get rich slowly and accumulate while, Bitcoin potentially heads down lower over 2022, so that when we think we get bottoming signals, we have more tether or, stable coin at that time. And that's the whole game plan here. All right. So before I jump into how high I think this can go and give you specific signals on when this is going to peter out. Again, I typically don't provide this type of information, super specific information on YouTube, but I wanted to just today. So before we jump into all that, I want you to take a quick moment and flip your phones or get flipped off, hit the like button for me so I continue making videos for you. Also, make sure if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe, but if you are subscribed, make sure that you have all notifications on that bell hit so that I can deliver time sensitive information to you. And leave me a comment down below, or if you're going to step on a Lego, no, just leave a random comment, help out the algo for me. And again, that's going to help me as a content producer to continue making videos for you. And let's dive back into these charts. Follow me on Twitter, Costas Verdes 2, number 2 after my name. Turn on your camera and microphone and ask me questions directly, and live links to the Discord community in the description section. If an online community is not your thing, you can get exclusive content above and beyond what I provide on YouTube. Typically, you can hit the join button below this video, and another video will pop up describing the tiers and what you'll get. All right, so this is the short-term time frame, right? So this is how I'm going to play these bounces and the 1 hour Stokes on the way up. So I'm not just going to allow it to rip up, holding on for dear life with all of my positions. However, after I re-enter this, this would be the ultimate thing that I'm looking for. Maybe this week ends green and the next week ends green, potentially. So I would be looking for this. And then if this ends up happening, I would probably be fully out of any long positions and potentially start looking for, easing in, not going, 100x or anything crazy, but I would start easing into shorts. Is I want to see price bump its head on the weekly 10. It's that simple. And within this week, so let me mark this week off and let me draw a line where the weekly 10 was. Typically, even if a week just goes way above the red line, that squiggly is not going to work. Even if price goes way above the red line, typically when it gets there, it has hesitation and it comes back down and you have a chance to re-enter, take profits and then jump back in should this go. So I'm going to mark this week off here, and then we will jump into something like the hourly chart so you can see. So even if, I think actually it got above it and stayed on it. So in this case, it did hesitate, but it hesitated on top of the weekly 10 EMA. So if something like that were to happen and I saw a lot of bounces and the 1 hour Stokes come down multiple times, I would probably jump back into my longs after having taken profits. And had I entered any light shorts, I would bail on them and switch long. So, but typically what happens, instead of hesitating on top of it, a lot of times it'll bounce its head, recheck this 1 hour 200 and then get above. But in this case, it was this was a bear trap, right? So it just took off more aggressively than typical. So I would be looking for the inverse of this to happen, for it to hesitate below it. And then if 1 hour Stokes can come down multiple times, then I would think about jumping back in, but lightly. But I would be very hesitant at that time. So again, this line drawn is the weekly 10 EMA, and back in September and October 1st, when things really screamed up, that is how price interacted with it. All right, so let me delete some of these lines here, and let's come back over here. So I'm going to mark off the weekly 10 EMA so you can see on the hourly chart how high that would be, so we can get some estimates here. And again, I think this would go into next week. I don't think this week is just going to race up and touch it. I think this week has a chance of close. So specifically this week, I think this week has a chance of closing above the weekly 55, and then next week maybe only like half the day red on Monday to get a green wick, and then comes up. And like next week could be a pretty big week. It truly could. So I will go ahead and mark off this weekly 10 here, like so. It's kind of close enough. And I'll just guess where it'll be next week. And if price goes up, this actually might start curving around like that. So now I will make this red, and then I'll flip back to the hourly chart. And so that is putting us up at 47.7 or so. I'll write that in. Something to this effect is where I would close out all my longs and wait to, see what else happens based off traditional markets, based off of just overall market sentiment, and I would have to reassess. So, you can see that this aligns with this horizontal where all this price action right here topped out at roughly. So all these areas where price, had some resistance, had resistance. So it's essentially a horizontal plus some EMA. It's going to be hard to get over that. And, you'd probably have a 1-2 or a 1-2-3 daily candle correction, similar to how we had this week. I would not anticipate that the week just, goes straight above it, although it could, because it happened, in early October, but that would not be my play. That would not be my expectations for the reasons that I said earlier. Plus, this didn't make some lower low where it's a bear trap, and then it would take off. If that were to have happened, and then you got some nasty green candles, then I would expect potentially that it does just scream above, because this was all set up so whales can take on longs, and then they would clearly just bust it through here like they did in October. But because this was a higher low structure, which is more mass market psychology as opposed to whales faking people out and doing silly stuff with the large amounts of money that they have moving the market, I think this higher low structure would indicate if the rally does get up here, it will take a breather at that point, and that would be my more mid-term analysis. So from now back in December, so I'm going to go to the monthly chart. Back in December, I kept saying that I think January has a strong chance of closing, either a some type of doji candle, whether it's a dragonfly or whatever. I think it has a strong chance of closing a doji, and as of now, that is starting to work out here. So I expected a small wick up, which has happened, a move down, and then for it to move up. And the reason I expected all of this, and it is playing out, and again, I was talking about this in December, folks. The reason why I thought that is if I put a time frame on like the 8-hour, I put on my macro range here, which is kind of the range to rule them all for Bitcoin right now. What I was observing is I thought this month would come down and test this blue box, which is the point of control. Let me get rid of the EMA, which is the point of control for all of, let me get rid of the origin lines. For all of, this since January, right? So this range started developing in January. So I thought, okay, so January started right here. I expected it to come down to this blue box, which is what's happened, and then get a bounce and close almost exactly where it started. And guess what? Where did January 1st start? Look, watch. Look how everything's starting to align. Watch. Let me get rid of my squiggles here. January 1st started right here. Isn't that pretty damn close to the line where I think this is going to go within a couple of weeks? All right. Now, what date is it? It's about 10, 11 days away from the end of the month. So if I think it's going to happen, into next week, that's roughly making, with that estimate, that means January, in that case, would close a doji candle, like a wick with a very, very tiny body. Whether it's red or green, it doesn't matter. All I'm thinking that it will be a doji candle, and it's the month of January will close, is my guess at this point still, since maintaining that since December, especially since it's playing out kind of how I thought it would. Besides this fake, I didn't think that would happen. I thought it would bounce and come up here and do this, but But that's particularly what I'm looking for on the medium-term timeframes, and that is how I'm making sense of all of it, is using this macro range and understanding how these levels affect price and where you get bounces, so on and so forth. And and again, I was talking about this in December for this kind of exact move to happen, and as of now, it looks like it will carry through. So that's why I have this target up here, and it could wick above and hit this right here. So I'm gonna have to look out for that, because the macro range says it actually will wick above the weekly 10 this time. So typically when you bounce off a lower end and have a rally up, you will hit the next line. You will at least hit it, sometimes wick past it. So because the weekly 10 at that point will be below it and this horizontal will be below this, I think you'll have a day where it wicks up and maybe comes back, close back below, and then have a 1-2 candle correction on a daily time frame type of deal. And that would be what I'm looking for. So so if I were interested in taking on shorts, I would actually probably wait till 48.9 were hit, something to that effect. And I wouldn't go like super heavy on shorts, because momentum, the short-term time frame momentum, were up, but I would just take some on to, in case the market does turn around, at least I'm in a little bit of position. I could take a little bit of advantage. And again, I would not go very heavy on it. And again, this is, so hopefully you can see, in this video, and again, I don't offer this type of information on YouTube specifically, particular to how I'm clicking around with my money, what my setup is, what my game plan is, in the exact path to get there. And I wanted to show you how this relates to what I'm doing on Discord, and how I'm helping folks during downturns continue to accumulate either crypto or accumulate stable coins, so that when a bottom has given signals for potential bottom, we have more stable coins to potentially buy bottom and just let it rip for the next run, which might not happen until 2023. We don't really know at this point, but that's kind of the guess, as either late 2022 or early 2023 is essentially our community guess at this time. And again, we're willing to change if the market starts changing around and making higher daily highs and higher daily lows as well. But at the time, it's weekly no trend and a daily downtrend, so we are letting the trend be our friend. So go ahead and check out this video here if you want to learn how to set up a chart just like mine. It'll be the most valuable 28 minutes in crypto you've ever spent if you don't know how to set up a chart. And go ahead and watch this video right here if you want to see my Ethereum analysis from yesterday, and click the circle in the middle if you're new to my channel and you just got Timified.